Hello Booktube, this is Dario. Welcome to my channel Motley Reads. Today is Friday. It's Midsummer Eve here in Sweden. It is just about 11:40 p.m. So I'm gonna show you how it looks like here right now in the middle of the night. It's pretty light outside. It doesn't look like this during winter, I can promise you that. But now it's a really fantastic time period to be here. We had really nice weather today, and they say that it's going to continue like this for some more days. So hopefully this will stay like it, because typically the weather here, either you get into a long row of days that are hot, or long row of days that are rainy and cold. So let's see what is going to happen. Probably gonna get both types of periods throughout the summer. So what I'm going to talk about now, I'm going to talk about two of my June Pride Month readings. I'm reading 3 books as a part of my Pride Month readings. Now I've read through 2 of them, so I'm going to talk about the 2 of them. The first one is Maurice by Forster, and the second one is Giovanni's Room by James Baldwin. I will start with Maurice. Maurice, this is a version in Swedish. It is translated by Maria Ekman. Very nice translation. I'm trying to follow the principle that the books that are written in English, that I read in English, but this one I found on a sale. Very nice nice book, and it looks like a good translation, so I bought this. Every year in February, all bookshops in Sweden, they have a fire sale, so they sell out everything at just a fraction of the price, all new books. So I got this last year, not last February actually. It was on my shelf until now, so I thought it was a very good book to pick up as a part of my June Pride Month reading. So what is this about? This is one of the classic books in gay literature, written by Forster back in 1913. And Forster, he is one of the great English writers. He wrote books like Passage to India and Howard's End, and this book is also one of his very well-known writings. However, this book was published first after his death in 1970. Forster was gay himself, but being born at the end of the 19th century in England, when homosexuality was forbidden, he, as a homosexual, which he was, really couldn't write a book like this that is building on such a profound experience as he has had. So he couldn't write about this, and he couldn't really get himself into writing very much about the heterosexual love. So his production was very short. He basically didn't write anything after the age of 45. He was silent for many years. So this book came out in 1917. In this book there is also afterward, written by him in 1960, where still parliamentary investigations about legalization of homosexuality were ongoing in England. So the book is about Maurice Hall, typical English gentleman, upper middle class guy, of independent economic means, grows up in a suburb of London, where, as the Forster writes here, in a place of economic abundance, where you cannot distinguish failure from success, very much like many of middle class suburbs today, really. So he grew up there, and as a homosexual at that time, and at any time, I guess, that starting to explore himself as a boy, his sexuality, really being confused and not understanding what is going on with his sexual preferences. He went to various schools for the people with good economic means, and he went to Cambridge at the end. And in Cambridge, he digged deeper into this sexual experience and realized that he really likes men, and then he starts to indulge in that experience, still not meeting many men actually, but really accepting that he has that preference. And he meets another young man. His name is Clive, and Clive is even a higher class than Maurice. He's a rich young man that also has the same feelings about men as Maurice, and they get together into some kind of semi-platonic relationship, where they actually never fulfill their love with the real sexual act. It's lots of tenderness and really strong feelings, but at some point Clive really rejects his true nature and goes more into mainstream, while Maurice continues to struggle in his homosexuality. Leaves Cambridge and starts to live ordinary life, and his life then continues. And I think that it continues in a way that it continues for many men back then, and probably now, that are homosexuals, going from realization, exploration, into feeling not compliant with the societal norms, and feeling ashamed because of that, and really trying to get things right, trying to search for help, trying to convert into what should be a normal thing to be a heterosexual, but really, not succeeding to abandon their true nature, and then at the end of the day realizing and being at peace with yourself. So the whole process of the embryo realization of that something is different with the sexuality, and exploration and denial and acceptance, the whole process of coming out from a closet is depicted here in a very, very strong way. There is, like always with Ian Forster, lots of social commentary, but directing critique towards English society of those times, critique against medical profession, against church, against the judicial system, against the way people really see at the differences. Very, very strong book that got me to think very much about this topic, and I guess that's exactly what the purpose of these types of reading is, really. So I really liked Maurice. I understand that it's a classic in the genre. The second book here is Giovanni's Room by James Baldwin, and James Baldwin, I think most of you know who James Baldwin is, and those who didn't know who James Baldwin is, I think that now during the last month or so in Black Lives Matters protests have come across James Baldwin as a political writer, as a passionate African American voice that has written many books, both of the political nature, like Fire Next Time, and his essays, Notes to a Native Son. I think that's how it's called. Notes of a Native Son, sorry. And also his fiction writing, like If Beale Streets Could Talk, that is now a major motion picture, and also Go Tell It on a Mountain, also very well known works of James Baldwin, touching upon the racial problem theme in the United States. This book is a bit different. It is his second novel. His debut was Go Tell It on a Mountain. This is the second book. He wrote it in 1956 when he lived in Paris. He wrote his debut in Paris as well. He left the United States in 1948, I think it was, to go to Europe to be able to live normally as a black man and as a homosexual man. So he chose to go to Europe, that was at that time more liberal than the US, and to France, that was more liberal than the most European countries, and to Paris, the most liberal part of France. So he has many artists that were seeking to be able to work in a creative environment that was that was tolerant to different races, different sexual preferences. He went there and he started writing, and he wrote his debut novel. Then he wrote this one. And this one is about David, a young American in 1950s Paris, that is there with his fiancée, also American girl, that takes an extended vacation to Spain to think about their relationship and whether they should continue and go get married. She's away for months, and during that period of time while she's away, he starts to explore his true sexuality, and he's meeting Giovanni, an Italian bartender, a beautiful and passionate man that he falls in love with and has a passionate relationship with, until his fiancée, soon to be wife, returns back from Spain, where he's forced to make a choice. He makes a choice, and that choice leads to a tragedy. David, the protagonist of this novel, he's a white man. All characters here are white. And you can imagine back in 1956, when James Baldwin is publishing this novel, already him being an African-American man who dares to have a voice and writes in such an eloquent way, already that is very, very controversial. But when he comes out with this, white novel, it becomes an explosion. And it wasn't really easy for him to come out with this novel neither, because his publisher rejected the novel and wanted to be about a woman, and James Baldwin didn't want that, so he basically fired the publisher and chose a smaller publisher. His agent also didn't want to represent this, so he had to fire his agent. So he was very stubborn with really keeping this novel intact, keeping it in a way that he envisioned it to be. So he got through lots of criticism from African American community as well, that was criticizing him for taking such an approach. Also very homophobic parts of the African American community were criticizing him very, very much. He didn't really have got lots of friends with this work. But it got published, and we are lucky that it got published, and we are lucky that we are here to read it. I read this. I never read this before. Actually, my wife recommended this book to me, and it was it blew me away. It was such a fantastic experience. It's a passion drama. It is you get the whole thing. It is really a love story. You don't think very much about Giovanni and David being two men. It's just a story of true passion and true love, and you feel such a melancholy and sorrow all the time you are reading this, and the whole setting of the novel in a Bohemian Paris back in 1950s. It gives you really strong feeling, and you can feel how David is searching inside of himself first, and really encapsulating his true self within himself, and then he actually dares to be who he is in Giovanni's room. So Giovanni is living in a small room outside in the suburbs of Paris. So they have this, they passionate relationship and their life together in that small room. So David kind of expands his true self into that room, and then after a while he dares to expand his true self into larger context of Paris. Starts exploring Paris. They go out together. They live together, and they love together. But like all the happy stories, in these types of contexts, they can never end well, and it doesn't end well. I don't think it's spoiler that I'm telling you this. It's already said on the back of the book that it is a tragic story, and the way James Baldwin writes, it really blew me away, because he's writing with such a deep understanding of the human nature, of the human thoughts, of how we truly feel about ourselves, and how do we feel about our feelings. He gets very deep into the whole problems of searching for a sexual identity, and you can see that really these are all the thoughts and all the experiences that he's portraying here are really something that he experienced himself in one way or another. What is also quite interesting is to see how both he and Hella, his to be wife, both of them are, they have left the United States where they were slaves under conventions, got to Paris, and David is exploring himself in a way that I explained here. But Hella is also, she's trying to be artist, and she's going to Spain and having this long vacation and thinking about the future and so on and so forth. But somewhere both of them, both David and Hella, they are accepting that at one point they will need to return back to the United States, and then they need to subordinate themselves under conventions. They need to accept these gender roles of a husband and wife in 50s America, and that realization. And when you read of that realization, these two young people, it is so sad. It is really so sad that conventions are constraining us, and we need to accept that, and live our only life in a way that doesn't make us happy. It doesn't really let our true selves out just because somebody else thinks so. So it's it's very strong read, and I can really recommend to everybody who didn't read anything of James Baldwin, but just pick a book, any book by him, and you are going to get blown away. And if you are into understanding gay experience, and are really looking for a passion drama, and really looking for a Bohemian Paris story, Giovanni's Room, it's a fantastic. This is really I give it 10 stars out of 5. It's really good. Maurice is very good, but this is just it's in different league than most of the things I've been reading lately. So yeah, both of the books, pick them up, and I'm sure if you are curious and want to pick up these types of books, I'm sure that you're going to like them. So, see you.